Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Madeline and I create knitting content here on YouTube. In today's video, I'm very excited about this project. I'm going to be showing you how to make these boot or hiking socks. So these are a lot of fun to make. They're also really quick knits, so that's another added bonus. And the thing I really enjoyed about these socks too is I was able to use a bunch of yarn from my stash to create the other pairs that I have in front of me that I'll show you in just a second. So how I made these is I hold two strands of yarn together and the colors of the two different strands change throughout the sock. I'll describe more of the exact colors I used in the material section of the video. But basically all you need is one strand of DK weight yarn and then one strand of fingering weight sock yarn. And you just hold them together and you can create this look. So the way we are going to knit these in this video is going to be one at a time. You can knit them two at a time if you want to. Just in this video I just do one at a time. We knit them top down. And I use magic loop for knitting. Of course, if you prefer double pointed needles, feel free to do it that way. So I'm going to be showing you everything from the cast on to where I switch each one of my colors for this beginning cuff. Then we're going to switch from the 2x2 ribbing into a different ribbing for the main portion of the sock. We're going to add on the heel flap and heel turn our sock, work all the way up through the toe, and then do the toe decreases. So down in the description box below, you're going to find a few things. First, you're going to find the full written version of the pattern. Then you're also going to find the different video breakpoints, so that way if you want to fast forward or rewind to any specific point in this video, you can find the exact timestamps down below. And if you're new to my channel, there's a red subscribe button down there. Don't forget to hit it. That way you can keep updated on all the videos I put out. And if you have any comments or questions along the way, just leave them down in the comments down below. And I hope you enjoy the video. Just to show you some of the other colors I made real quick too. I'll add a clip at the end of the video explaining which yarns I used, but here's a cute pink and brown pair. And then this one I used a fun different color sock yarn, just held together with white to create this one. So if you're curious about those exact yarns, I'll put a little clip at the end of the video telling you exactly what I used. But let's get started. First, starting off with the materials that I used to make this sock. So I have two different colors of DK weight yarn, and these are both Dapple by Brooklyn Tweed. This is actually their new yarn base, that's why I decided to use it here, because I really wanted to try this one out. So each of these are 60% merino and 40% cotton. It is a DK weight, you get 151 meters or 165 yards per skein, and it recommends a US 5 to 7. This color is called Cosmos, and then the other color, if you're curious, is called Natural. And I do want to say too, like if you try and order these exact colors online, the Natural will probably look pretty similar, but there is a lot of variation skein to skein among all their colored yarns. So I actually picked this one because I liked how it gave that kind of like marled look. So it's like half navy, half gray. So that's why I ended up picking that one. Then I'm going to be holding these double with a nylon yarn. So this is a sock weight yarn or fingering weight, and this is Kobasi. So this one, I chose this one because it does have a high nylon content. I don't have the exact tag anymore, but if I can find the fiber content of this yarn, I'll put it up on the screen. And so I'm going to be using two colors of this. The second color of this is definitely optional. I just decided to put in that little stripe along the top. Sorry, it probably won't focus. Right there, that stripe along the top, that's done using this gray yarn. And then also I decided to use this yarn because I had a lot of it in my stash. Like I have tons more colors. So I might go back once I finish this pair and make another pair using another color of the Kobasi. But just to summarize, you're gonna want two colors of DK weight yarn, and then at least one color, so like your main background color that's gonna go all the way through your sock, of a fingering or sock weight yarn. And you want that sock weight yarn to have a nylon content to it, just to make your socks a little bit more durable. Next up, I have a tapestry needle. Then I have a ruler so I can measure and make sure both of my socks line up to be the same size. Pair of scissors. And then for my knitting needles, I'm going to be using a size US 6 and I do knit mine using magic loop. Now, if you do tend to be a very tight knitter, then I would recommend going up to a US 7. And the reason I did choose a US 6 for this pattern is because it is socks. You want these to be very tightly knit just so that they stay slightly more durable over time and they fit your foot for longer rather than getting stretched out right away if we went for a larger needle size. So now I'm gonna get started with the cast on. So for my cast on, you're gonna wanna hold together whatever yarns you'd like up here on the cuff. So I'm gonna be holding my white DK weight yarn together with my white fingering weight yarn. And I'm gonna cast on a total of 40 stitches. I would recommend using a stretchier cast on too. So either the long tail cast on or the German twisted cast on would be great ones to use. So I now have my 40 stitches cast on. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna divide for magic loop. And now I'm gonna work an inch, which is about 2.5 centimeters, of knit 2, purl 2 ribbing round after round. So I've finished working that knit 2, purl 2 ribbing for about an inch or 2.5 centimeters. And now I'm gonna work this first stripe. And this first stripe is completely optional. I think it just adds a really cute little fun detail. So the way I actually create this stripe is by switching out my fingering weight or sock yarn, those two colors. So I'm gonna switch from the white to the gray. And this is just for 2 rounds. So I don't actually cut my white yarn. You can if you'd like to, but I'm just gonna hold the white yarn to the inside of my sock as I'm going around just so it stays out of the way and the little strand of yarn will be on the inside. And the way I like to join the other color is I'm gonna take the tail of my gray yarn, thread it to the inside of my sock. Gonna leave about 6 inches or so there. And now I just wanna get ready to work my next stitch. So this one's a knit stitch. And when I work this stitch, I'm just gonna pick up, again, my white DK weight yarn and the gray sock yarn. And just go right into that first stitch and work my knit 2, purl 2 ribbing for 2 rounds. Now that I've completed those 2 rounds, I'm just gonna break my gray yarn. And again, here I leave about a 6 to 8 inch tail. Now again, I like to take that tail, just thread it back through the sock so it stays out of the way. Now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna re-pick up that white fingering weight yarn that I've been holding inside the sock. And I'm just gonna work about 3 more rounds or until my full cuff measures 2 inches or 5 centimeters. And then I'll be ready to switch colors again. And again, here you're doing the knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. I'm now ready to switch colors again. And for this main portion of the sock, I'm gonna be holding together my blue DK weight yarn with my white sock weight yarn. So I'm gonna cut my white DK weight yarn. Again, I'm gonna leave about a 6 to 8 inch tail. Move that to the side. And then again, I like to take that tail, thread it to the inside of my sock. Now I'm gonna join the blue yarn. Again, the same way I did the gray yarn before. Take the tail, thread it to the inside. Now the stitch repeat here is gonna be knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1, and repeat that all the way across the round. So again, it's knit 1 through the back loop, then purl 1, and that's essentially the ribbing that creates this look. And I repeat that round over and over again for about 3 inches. So you want this total length of the sock to be about 5 inches. Unless you'd like yours a little longer or shorter, in which case you'd want to add some in this portion. So now I'm going to pick up my white sock weight yarn, hold it together with the blue yarn, and do a knit one through the back loop, purl one, and just continue repeating that. Next up is the heel flap. So for the heel flap, I'm just going to be working half of my stitches, so just 20 stitches. And here again, I want to do it in the white color yarn. So I'm going to break my blue color, the DK weight yarn, join my white color yarn, and now the heel flap is going to be knit flat. So the way I'm going to be working the heel flap is I'm going to knit the first stitch through the back loop, then slip this next stitch purlwise, and that's going to be the repeat I do all the way across except the final stitch, which will just be slipping. So again, it's knit one through the back loop, slip the next stitch purlwise. And yep, the last stitch, we're just going to slip that one purlwise. Now I'm going to turn my work, because again, we're just knitting the heel flap flat. And now on this side, I'm going to purl all the way across the row, except the last stitch, which again, I'm just going to slip purlwise. So each one of these heel flap rows, we're going to be slipping the last stitch purlwise without actually working it. And that'll create the really nice chain along the edge that we can use to pick up the sides of the heel flap. So those are my 2 heel flap rows. Now I'm going to continue those 2 rows for a total of 20 rows, or 10 repeats of those 2. And if you do have a different number of stitches cast on, so let's say you have 44 stitches, the way you're going to figure out how many heel flap rows you need is you're going to take your total number of stitches, so let's say it's 44, divide it by 2, so that's 22. You have 22 stitches, you're going to do 22 rows. So I'll come back and show you what the next step is once I finish those 20 rows. I'm all ready to begin the heel turn now. So from this point forward in the heel turn, I'm just going to be knitting, no special knit through the back loop or anything like that. So to start off, I'm going to knit over until the halfway point and then knit 2 more stitches. So for me, it's going to be 10 stitches is the halfway point, plus 2 is going to be 12 stitches. Now I'm going to work a slip slip knit, knit 1 stitch, and now I want to turn my work. And for the next setup row here, I'm going to slip the first stitch purlwise, then I'm going to purl 5, now I'm going to work a purl 2 together, purl 1 more stitch, and again I'm going to turn my work here. So those are the 2 setup rows, and you can see the gap that forms. Right there is the one gap, and then on this side, you can't quite see it right now, but there'll be a gap that forms on each side. So now I'm going to begin going further and further out each row. So on this one, I'm now going to slip the first stitch purlwise again. This time, I'm going to knit 6. And now you can see the area where I'm going to do the next slip slip knit is going to be the next stitch, and then there's this gap that forms. So the second stitch of that slip slip knit will be the stitch on the other side of the gap. So that's a great way to double check that you're in the right place. Knit 1. Now I'm going to turn my work again, and again on this side I'm going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Now I'm going to purl 7, and when I do purl that 7, I should be right before the gap that forms over here. And now I'm gonna work a purl two together between the stitch right before the gap and the one right after the gap. Purl the next stitch, turn my work again, and now I'm just gonna continue going out one stitch further on either side and working those same repeat rows. So now I've reached the point where I can't actually work another full one of those repeat rows, because over here my gap happens right at the end, so I would basically do a slip slip knit here, but then I wouldn't have that one extra stitch to knit one. So this is gonna be the point where I stop working those repeat rows. So to get right back across this needle, what I wanna do is I'm gonna slip my first stitch purlwise, then I'm gonna knit up again until one stitch before that gap, so I'm gonna knit 10. And now I'm gonna work a slip slip knit. And now what I wanna do is I'm actually gonna go along this edge and I'm gonna begin picking up those stitches. So when I actually pick up those stitches though, I wanna be using the blue base yarn. I don't wanna be using the white yarn anymore. So here, I'm gonna cut my white yarn, the DK weight yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail to weave in later. And I'm gonna rejoin my blue yarn. Okay, so what I wanna do down this edge is I wanna go down and I wanna pick up both sides of each one of these V shapes that goes all the way down that outer edge. So I'm gonna skip the top one because that's the one stitch that I just worked into. I'm gonna go down to the next one with my left needle point. Again, I'm gonna pick up both sides. Then I'm gonna knit right into that using my blue yarn. Gonna go down to the next one, pick up both sides again, knit into that again, and just continue going all the way down the side, picking up both sides of the V. Now once you've finished picking up all along the white side, you do want to go down right to the bottom. Basically you'll have the stitches on your back needle and then the current stitches you're working, and you'll want to pick up the bar that's in between those two, and then I knit that through the back loop just to create a little twist, and that helps to prevent a hole from forming in between basically where the heel and the front part of the sock meet. Now I'm gonna turn, and I am gonna work across the front side of the sock now, and I'm just gonna work right in pattern. So I'm gonna go right back to the knit through the back loop, purl one, all the way across these stitches. Now I just finished going across those front stitches. So now again, I wanna pick up and knit into the back loop, from the bar in between the front and where the heel starts, just to help tighten that up a little bit. And now again, I'm gonna go all the way along this edge of the heel, and I'm gonna pick up each one of those V's again and knit right into each one. So I realized on my other sock I forgot to say one little step in here, so I'm just gonna show you on this other sock that I'm working on. So once you finish picking up all the second side of the heel flap, you want to turn your work, and on that first stitch, or those first two stitches, working across the heel for the first time, you want to work a knit two together of those two stitches. So that stitch is just on this initial round, and now I'm going to continue working that full decrease round. Okay, so now I've picked up all the stitches I need to work, and there's just a few things to keep in mind as you work the next few decrease rounds. So first, the goal of the decrease rounds is gonna be to get your total stitch count back down to whatever you started with up here on the cuff. So I started with 40 stitches, So my goal is to get these stitches back down to 40 stitches. Now I want to leave the front of the sock, or this top portion, just regular in the pattern. So I want to knit the whole top of the sock in that knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. So that's going to be what I work all these front stitches on. Now all these heel stitches, all the ones that are going to be underneath the foot, so all these heel ones, and then all these ones that we're going to be working in decreases, all these stitches are going to be knit. So again, just the stitches on the top of the sock are going to be that knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. All the stitches that we work in the decreases and the ones we just picked up along the sides of the heel, as well as the ones along the bottom of the foot, those are all just plain knit stitches. So first I'm going to show you the decrease round. So here I still have my stitches split up, where on the back I have anything that was originally on the heel, and then I have the one side of the heel that I picked up. Then on my other needle I have the full top of the sock, and then the other side of the heel that I picked up. So I'm going to knit all the way across until 3 stitches remain on this knitting needle. Now I'm going to work a knit 2 together, and then I'm going to knit that final stitch. Now I've turned my work, and on this side I'm going to work those entire 20 stitches just regular in the pattern of the top of the sock. So I'm going to knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. Okay, so now I've finished working those 20 stitches. So now I'm going to knit 1. Now I'm going to work a slip, slip, knit. And now I'm going to continue knitting across the rest of that needle. Now, after each one of those decrease rounds, you want to work just a regular round. So that'll just be knit across all these stitches on the back needle with the heel. Turn your work, work across the front of the sock in the pattern, and then knit across those remaining heel flap stitches. And then again, after that, you're going to want to work another decrease round. And you want to continue alternating between those 2 rounds until you have a total of 40 stitches, if that's the number you started out with, on your knitting needle. So you'll always have those top 20 stitches, and then you want to make sure the sum of the ones that are left over from the first side of the heel flap, from the bottom of the heel, and then from the other side of the heel flap, the sum of those 3 sections needs to equal 20 as well. And it will be helpful again, once you do get back to that point, to transfer these stitches over here to the other side of the cord, just so you have the front side of your sock all organized, and then the back side of your sock all organized. Then all you're gonna do is you're gonna continue working the front in pattern, and then the bottom just knit, all the way up until you're about 2 inches short of whatever your sock length should be. And then I'll come back and show you this final color switch and the toe decreases. And down in the description box below, I have included a link to a blog post. If you're knitting these socks for someone else and you're curious about how long should you actually make the foot depending on shoe size, I linked a blog post that I like to use down below. I find it's very helpful to just know the inch measurements. And now for the final step, I'm all ready to begin my toe decreases. So again here, I did mine in the white DK white yarn held together with a white sock yarn. So I'm gonna cut my blue yarn. And now before I work a decrease round, I'm just gonna knit 1 full round. So knit on both the front side and the back side. Now for the first decrease round, I'm going to knit the first stitch, then work a slip, slip, knit, knit until 3 stitches remain, or I'm 3 stitches before my halfway point on this one needle. Now I'm going to work a knit 2 together and knit the final stitch. Gonna turn my work, and I'm gonna work that exact same set of decreases. So knit 1, slip, slip, knit, knit until 3 stitches remain, work and knit 2 together, and knit 1. And that'll be my full decrease round. Now I want to continue spacing out those decrease rounds with knit rounds in between. And down in the description box with the full pattern, you'll see exactly how I decide to space out my decrease rounds. And then once I have 8 stitches left on the front needle and 8 stitches left on the back needle, or 16 stitches total, I'm just going to work Kitchener stitch to bind off all the stitches. So I hope you all enjoyed that tutorial and were able to create some really cute, nice socks. I think I'll probably end up giving these ones as a gift and then just keep on making more of these because I honestly have a lot of DK weight yarn in my stash. And I just wanted to update you real quick on what different yarns I did use in each of these projects, like I said at the beginning of the video. So to create this blue and white sock, up here at the top, I have Plymouth Yarns DK, their superwash base in the blue. And then held together, hopefully that'll focus, the light blue in there is another Kobasi yarn. Then down here on the main portion of the sock, so the white portion, this is a white DK yarn. And again, it's the same base as this blue up here. So it's Plymouth Yarns, again, just in their superwash base. And with that, I held together a Hue Loco sock yarn. Unfortunately, I don't have the tag anymore, but I'll just link her website down below. She has tons of beautiful colors. So that's the color combination I did on this sock. And then for this pink and brown one, this one is, so up at the top, it's the pink Kobasi sock yarn again, and it's held together with the Chelsea Yarns Tweed DK is the pink, and this is the same pink yarn I used in a cowl video, so I'll link that one down below too if you're curious. But I just had leftover yarn from that, so I was like, why not make some socks? And then that Chelsea Yarns pink tweed actually goes all the way through the sock. I just switch out the sock base down here. So here I'm just holding it together with a brown sock yarn. And unfortunately I don't have the tag for that one anymore either, but it's just a solid brown sock yarn. And I really think the way those colors look together look really cute as well. So again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below, and I'll see you next time.